to 108 gates. We are looking at the divine feminine energies first, and then we should do a reading for the divine masculine after this one. There are this month's readings up for each zodiac sign, so you can see the playlist for that. And tuning into the divine feminine energies right now, we've just moments ago, well, not moments, sorry, but 2 hours ago, gone through the full moon in Gemini. So there feels like there's a lot of harmonizing happening, a lot of acknowledgement of where there has been either ends of the poles, either ends of the decision making process, whatever that regards. Are you making the decisions for yourself? Are you making decisions for other people? Are they making decisions for you? And coming in and bringing it into a harmonious point, but seeing the benefit of both sides, or seeing the downfall of both sides. So kind of being more subjective, but in a beneficial way, because then you're able to assess this works but this doesn't. So it's first being able to see those things, being able to acknowledge those things, and being able to monitor them and assess them appropriately. Let's get deeper into this, because this is quite a confusing energy at the moment, hence it being Gemini. So that is the twins, one way or the other way, two faces. You can have either or. So there's a lot of communication with Mercury in there as well. Let's just check the chart. So Mercury is in Sagittarius at the moment. So the speed of which we are communicating, the force of which we are communicating and thinking, is really getting a nice fragrance of energy. As we also have Mars at 2 Sagittarius now. So in this reading, whenever you come to this reading, it doesn't matter when it is, you'll have this particular vibe and this particular energy. So the chart's just refreshed, one moment. So, yeah. Saturn, 0 Pisces still. And Chiron is still at 15 Aries retrograde. So this Chiron in Aries retrograde, it's really allowing for certain unhealed wounds to be shown and blown away. There's a lot of things that want to be said, things that want to be dealt with, things that want to be addressed. But the point is, at the moment, there's so much speed and so much momentum happening. It's choosing those things that really literally, it comes up and just let it go. I'm not going back there to pick it apart, or do I really need to know the cause of it? I know it happened. I acknowledge it. I accept that it happened. Therefore, letting it go. This feminine energy is very, it's very masculine supported. It's very proactive. So resignation, say goodbye to what you no longer need. Adaptation, change will be better than you think. So there's the other thing that's coming up quite strong is resentment and regret. Having the courage to let go of things. So what I mean by that is, if you have, and I'm going to say this very gently as I can, if, or wherever should I say, you are holding elements of resentment or regret or blame, wanting to seek revenge on some level, not in a malicious way, but just like feeling like some things were unfair, some things shouldn't have happened but they did, and some level, even if it's a tiny minuscule part of you in your unconscious mind feels like there's some revenge being needed, there's some revenge wanted. Finding it within yourself to get the courage to let it go, because that's the exact kind of thing. Negative people, when they're doing those kind of things, if they hold you in that space of wanting revenge or resentment or regret or any negative energy like that, they've kind of won. And I know we've spoken about this before. So it's not even about winning or not. It's about that subjective view, so that it can actually benefit you in this way, because you're allowing the subjective and very primitive or primal emotions come up, letting them be accessed. Because if they've been hidden in the denial, if they've been hidden in the subconscious or preconscious or unconscious, it's not going to be easy to address it. So therefore, in being subjective, you're allowing yourself to acknowledge that yes, this happened, I'm feeling this particular way towards it, how can I deal with it, how can I acknowledge it, how can I move on from this? So giving yourself that permission to move forward in a healthy manner. So here we go. Six of Swords, moving away from things. So usually the Six of Swords is depicted as two people on a boat, and there's usually 5 swords, and there's more usually there's 1 sword in the water. Moving away from the I'm going to say anarchy, moving away from the agony, moving away from the I'll keep hearing anarchy. You don't need to be part of the fighting for something. It's more productive to be being peaceful for something, being productive for something, fighting in a different way, fighting for your cause in a more dignified and silent. And when I mean silent, I mean just it may be that you just not talk to certain people about certain things, whereas in the past you may have talked to particular people and they may have taken your ideas, they may have taken your taken the credit for your work, they may have pitched an idea and said it was their own, they may have spoken about something as if it was their own opinion when you've just heard them say that it wasn't their opinion. It's a very strange energy on some level, but at the same time it makes a lot of sense because it is a very Gemini vibe. The emotions coming up of defending yourself from this, the necessary steps taken to protect your ideas, to protect your assets, to protect your vulnerability. So that means allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but in the correct way, in the safe places with people who keep you safe, and making sure they keep you safe, not false expressions of safe. So this 9 of Wands feels like it's mastering that thing of like you've gone away from something, now you're identifying in being subjective. So again, I'm going to explain this as another way that's coming in. So if you're just as an example, so siblings for an example, and if the oldest is always told just let them do what they want because you're the oldest, you need to be the understanding one and let them do what they need to do. And I'm just seeing like a child kind of kind of thing, and sticking the tongue out and thinking ha ha ha, you have to do this and I don't kind of vibe. It can only go so far. It can only go to a certain age. It can only go to a certain level before that collapses on them, before that becomes something they can't do. When they go to the real world, when they go to something outside the confinement of that interaction, it's going to shift and change. It's going to, or it might not. If they carry on like that, how much of that is you wanting to just retract from that and keep yourself sustained in a way that you don't have to be doing that anymore? Now, also, the subjective part of this is very much so, instead of having to just grinning and bearing it, just shutting your mouth and having to be quiet about it, just having to watch the person go no in front of you and just not react. There's like residue from that, and this is where there's possibly resentment, this is where there's possibly anger or other energies, other emotions that are bottling up, which need to be brought to the surface, or allowed to come to the surface rather, and then dealt with. So do you want to stay in that conflict, or do you want to just let it go? Move away from the anarchy, move away from fighting this, because at the same time it wasn't worth fighting then. You were told not to fight it. You were taught to possibly not stand up for yourself. Now you can see it for what it is because you're letting the truth of the emotions come up. You weren't allowed to express your disapproval. You weren't allowed to express that you're uncomfortable about this. Now you are going to know that when I see that, when I feel that, when I sense that, I can identify where, why and how it came about. Therefore, this time I don't need to be shouting about it. I don't need to let this rage or anger come out in an aggressive way. I can let it come out in a very healthy, self-loving, self-nurturing, caring manner, because I have the courage to. All of the acknowledgement of this is healing in itself. Not shoving it down, not pushing it down, and not ignoring it anymore, and letting it come up and just acknowledging to yourself, I know that happened. I felt that happen. I felt it change me in a way that wasn't good for me. I felt it hurt me in certain ways. This alone is going to be so nurturing. This is going to be very powerful. And we've got another period of this coming up in different ways, just because of certain configurations. But right now, if you're at this reading and you just acknowledge those things, that yes, that did hurt me. It's not about being objective and always being that spiritual, that false spirituality of like, no, it's beyond me, I never get touched by it. Yes, you did. If you're being honest with yourself, when did you get hurt by certain things and you just had to push it down? You had to like grin and bear it, like I said earlier. So acknowledging those things peacefully, calmly. Say goodbye to what you no longer need. You don't need to hold on to those negative energies. That just keeps you tied and stuck and bound to those people that you don't want to be near. Let go of the anarchy. That may have raised a sense of anarchy within yourself. So because you couldn't fight the source you actually were angry at, you were fighting everything else and yourself. Fighting your passions, fighting your success, fighting your well-being, because it just became a natural reaction, a natural instinct to it doesn't feel easy to feel good about something when you've got that much knotted in yourself, bottled up in yourself of anger and resentment or regret. Well, that was a lot.